The time Dylan Wang waited in the rain for Bai Lu's plane to land. A love story China can't stop talking about. An industry where images, everything, and schedules are carved to the minute. Acts of quiet, selfless love often go unseen. But on one storm-soaked night at Shanghai Pudong International Airport, Dylan Wang proved that some moments are worth more than any drama scene, red carpet, or luxury endorsement. It wasn't a movie. It wasn't staged. It was one man, a soaking rain, and the woman he refused to let arrive alone. The storm that set the stage. July 14th was a night that Shanghai locals won't soon forget. By late afternoon, dark clouds had rolled in from the coast, dragging sheets of rain that turned the city into a glittering blur of wet asphalt and flickering neon. Flights were delayed, traffic was gridlocked, and even the most determined travelers were giving up and rescheduling. But not Dylan Wang. He had been in Shanghai since the morning, wrapping up a commercial shoot for a luxury watch brand. His manager had arranged a private car to take him back to his hotel the moment filming ended. Instead, Dylan told the driver to head for Pudong Airport. Why? Bai Lu's flight from Chengdu was scheduled to land that evening. She was returning from a week-long shoot in the mountains, tired, cold, and, as Dylan later told a friend, too important to come home to an empty arrival hall. The waiting game begins. When Dylan arrived, the rain was already coming down hard enough to blur the terminal lights. His manager urged him to wait inside the VIP lounge, but Dylan refused. He walked straight to the outdoor arrival gate, the one used for domestic flights, and stood near the exit where arriving passengers would spill out. Witnesses say he was wearing a black baseball cap, a gray hoodie, and jeans, blending in with the crowd of waiting family members and fans. The only thing that stood out was the umbrella he held, small, dark blue, and clearly insufficient against the downpour. A student who happened to recognize him later posted on Weibo, "I thought I was seeing things." Dylan Wang was just standing there, checking the arrivals board every few minutes, wiping rain off his phone. No cameras, no staff, just him. Delays, calls, and a growing crowd. By 7:45 p.m., Bai Lu's flight had been delayed for the third time. Heavy winds and lightning over the East China Sea forced incoming planes to circle or divert. Dylan's manager suggested leaving multiple times. Each time, Dylan shook his head. "If she lands and doesn't see me, I'll regret it. I don't care how long it takes." Fans began to notice the tall figure by the gate. Photos started popping up on social media. Dylan leaning against a pillar, rain dripping from the brim of his cap, scrolling through his phone, occasionally looking up at the storm. By 9 p.m., a small crowd had formed, whispering excitedly but keeping their distance. They knew something special was happening. The landing announcement. Finally, at 9:23 p.m., the board lit up. Chengdu arrived. Dylan straightened immediately. He moved closer to the exit, pocketing his phone and pulling the umbrella down against the rain blowing in from the side. A witness, a businessman waiting for his wife on the same flight, described the moment. He looked nervous, like a teenager waiting for his crush. "I saw him rub the back of his neck, then glance at the doors every few seconds. When she came out, it was like a scene from a movie." The reunion. Bai Lu emerged in an oversized beige trench coat, pulling a black carry-on suitcase. Her hair was still damp from the misty weather in Chengdu. She looked exhausted until she saw him. Her eyes widened. She froze mid-step, then broke into the kind of smile that's impossible to fake. Dylan stepped forward, holding the umbrella over her before she even reached him. She said something. No one could hear it over the rain, and he replied with a grin before taking her suitcase handle from her hand. Then, without a word, he shifted the umbrella so most of it covered her, leaving himself half exposed to the rain. They walked together toward the parking area, his arm brushing haze the entire way. The umbrella moment that went viral. One fan caught a 12-second video from behind. In it, Dylan tilts the umbrella whenever the wind changes, ensuring Bai Lu stays dry while his hoodie soaks through. At one point, she reaches up to adjust the umbrella toward him, but he shakes his head, smiling, and pushes it back over her. The clip hit Weibo within minutes, amassing over 50 million views in a day. Comments flooded in. "If he's not covering you like Dylan covers Bai Lu, he's not the one." Forget dramas. This is the romance we want. He waited in the rain for hours. That's love in its purest form. The car ride that no one saw, but everyone imagined. While no paparazzi followed them to the car, an airport parking attendant later spilled a small detail. He opened the car door for her, put the suitcase in the trunk, then jogged around to the driver's side. And yes, he was driving himself. No chauffeur, no convoy, just them. Netizens immediately began romanticizing what that car ride must have been like. The quiet hum of the engine, the sound of rain on the windshield, the two of them sitting side by side in the dim glow of the dashboard. Why it meant so much. In an industry where celebrity relationships are often carefully curated for publicity, this wasn't a staged airport walk or a coordinated couple reveal. This was raw, unplanned, and painfully human. Bailu later confirmed the story in an interview. I told him not to come because the weather was bad. But when I saw him there, I knew there's someone who would stand in the rain for me, and that's Ray. Aftermath, the nation reacts. The incident dominated entertainment headlines for days. Articles called it the real drama of the year and the airport scene that rivals any K-drama finale. Brands Dylan and Bailu work with subtly reference the event in marketing campaigns. One luxury clothing label even ran a Weibo post saying, "For the one with waiting for rain or shine." Private, but not invisible. Despite the viral buzz, Dylan refused to talk about the night in detail. When asked during a promotional event, he simply said, "If you love someone, waiting isn't a problem. Rain isn't a problem. Missing them is the problem." Bailu, for her part, only smiled whenever the topic came up, once joking, his lucky I didn't land at 3 a.m., or we'd have a different story. The lasting image. Even months later, the mental picture of Dylan Wang standing in the rain, umbrella tilted, eyes fixed on the airport doors, remains etched in fans' memories. It's not grand gestures that make love stories unforgettable. It's moments like these. Moments where someone waits, not because they have to, but because they can't imagine doing anything else. That night, under the stormy Shanghai sky, Dylan Wang didn't just wait for Bailu's plane to land. He waited for her, and that made all the difference. Through her eyes, the rain, the airport, and the man who waited. The Chengdu Mountains had been beautiful, but the last 7 days had felt endless. The cold seeped into her bones during outdoor filming. The thin mountain air made every breath an effort. By the time the director called rap, Bailu's voice was raw from delivering emotional lines against biting winds. She wasn't thinking about glamour. She was thinking about home. The flight out of Chengdu. It was 5:30 p.m. when she boarded. Her makeup had long since faded. She wore an oversized trench coat over a hoodie, the kind of outfit she knew could help her slip through an airport unnoticed. She settled into her window seat, tugged the hood up, and closed her eyes as the rain began streaking against the cabin glass. Then her phone buzzed. It was a text from Dylan. "Rain's bad in Shanghai. Be careful when you land. Want me to pick you up?" She hesitated, her fingers hovering over the screen. He'd had a long day shooting a commercial. She'd seen the schedule. She typed back quickly. "No need. Go rest. I'll be fine." A few seconds later, the 3 dots appeared. "We'll see." She rolled her eyes and smiled despite herself. That was Dylan. Storms and delays. The turbulence began before they even left Chengdu airspace. The captain's voice crackled through the speaker, warning of significant weather activity over Shanghai. Her stomach sank. Delays were inevitable. Half an hour later, the announcement came. They'd have to circle until conditions improved. Passengers groaned. Bailu leaned her head against the cold window, watching lightning fork somewhere far below. She thought of Dylan again. Surely by now he'd gone home, away from the rain, maybe stretched out on the couch watching basketball highlights. She pictured him laughing at something on his phone, completely dry and warm. That image was comforting. Landing at last. When the plane finally began its descent, the windows glowed with the flicker of airport lights through rain. It was nearly 9:30 p.m., 2 hours late. She rubbed her eyes and braced herself for the usual gauntlet. The shuffle off the plane, the carousel, the sprint past cameras if any paparazzi had been tipped off. Her plan was simple. Keep her head down, get to the car her assistant had booked, and disappear into the night. But as she wheeled her suitcase through the glass sliding doors into the arrivals hall, she froze. The moment she saw him, he was impossible to miss, even dressed like a civilian. The baseball cap sat low, shadowing most of his face, but she would have recognized the way he stood anywhere. One hand in his pocket, the other gripping a dark blue umbrella, shoulders slightly hunched against the rain blowing in through the half-open side doors. Dylan. Her chest tightened. She blinked, thinking it must be exhaustion playing tricks on her. But then he looked up. The brim of the cap shifted just enough for their eyes to meet, and everything, the noise, the cold, the wet, fell away. He stepped forward without hesitation. She felt her lips curve before she even realized she was smiling, crossing the distance. When he reached her, the umbrella tilted instantly toward her side, droplets rolling off in sheets while rain hit the back of his hoodie. "You're soaked," she said, her voice low, almost scolding. "You're here," he replied simply, taking the suitcase handle from her fingers as if it were the most natural thing in the world. The walk to the car. It wasn't a long walk, but it felt suspended, like something between reality and a film scene. The pavement glistened under the terminal lights. Puddles mirrored the blare of taxis and buses. Every few steps, the wind would shift, and Dylan would subtly adjust the umbrella's angle, making sure she stayed dry. At one point, she reached up, trying to center it so he wouldn't get so wet. He shook his head immediately. "Stop that," he murmured. "I'm fine." She didn't argue. The truth was, she didn't want to. Inside the car, the rain became a soft drumbeat on the roof the moment they closed the doors. Dylan started the engine, the dashboard casting a warm glow across his face. His hair was damp, small droplets still clinging to his jawline. "You shouldn't have come," she said again, softer this time. He pulled out of the parking space. "Then who would have been here?" "Your assistant. I told you I'd be fine." "I know," he said, eyes on the road. "But I wouldn't have been." Something in her chest shifted at that. The drive through the city. Shanghai at night was a watercolor of neon and rain-slick streets. Traffic was light. The storm had chased most people indoors. Dylan drove one-handed, the other resting casually on the gear shift, his thumb tapping to some rhythm only he heard. She found herself watching him more than the city outside. The curve of his jaw when he focused, the way his lips tightened slightly at red lights, the faint crease between his brows. Finally, she asked, "How long did you wait?" He shrugged. "Since your scheduled landing time. Give or take, 2 hours." Her mouth fell open. "You're crazy." "Maybe," he said, a small smile tugging at his lips, "but only for you." The conversation that stayed between them. They didn't talk about work. They didn't talk about schedules or brand deals or the endless stream of online gossip. Instead, they spoke about the little things. The terrible instant noodles she'd eaten on set, the song he'd been trying to learn on guitar, the neighbor's cat that had decided their balcony was now its second home. It felt like slipping into a different world, one where the only thing that mattered was that they were in the same car, the same space, the same moment. The apartment lights. When they pulled up outside her apartment building, the rain had softened to a mist. Dylan got out before she could stop him, circling around to open her door and retrieve the suitcase from the trunk. She stood there for a moment, watching him under the dim street lamp. His hoodie clung to him from the rain. His sneakers were dark with water. Yet he still looked at her like she was the only reason he'd been out there at all. "Thank you," she said quietly. He didn't reply right away. Then, with a small, almost shy smile, he said, "Next time, don't tell me not to come. I'm going to anyway." Upstairs, alone, thinking of him. Hours later,